Every petrolhead knows that AMG is to Mercedes-Benz what the M division is to BMW and Quattro GmbH is to Audi. But these days, AMG is more than just an engine supplier and a high-performance tuner. It's starting to produce sports cars of its own. And this car is a case in point. It's called the Mercedes-AMG GTS. And the big question is whether it can tackle the best sports cars in the world. Of course, this isn't AMG's first sports car. The gull-wing door SLS and its roadster stablemate can lay claim to that honour. But those cars have now been put out to pasture, replaced in essence by the Mercedes-AMG GT. It uses the same platform as the SLS, but it's lighter and more compact, and not quite as expensive. The legendary V12 engine has made way for a high-tech bi-turbo V8, and the gearbox is a dual-clutch design. Even so, the classic front-engine, rear-wheel drive configuration has remained the same. That layout is visually expressed by this long swooping nose, the very pugnacious front end, and a strangely almost softer rounded rear. The cabin set far back, the haunch is very muscular, the large wheels adding to the whole appeal of what is clearly a sports car. And although from some angles it isn't always flattering, this car is certainly aggressive. The front end is dominated by a large meshed grille that gives pride of place to a big three-pointed star, while prominent headlights and hungry lower air intakes add further credence to the car's performance credentials. The rear's defining feature are the muscular haunches, which convey a real sense of power and purpose. Large exhaust tailpipes frame a rear diffuser with low-mounted LED brake light, while slim taillight clusters accentuate the huge rear fenders. The tailgate's slanted rear glass screen limits rearward vision, however. The new Mercedes-AMG is offered in GT and more powerful GTS versions, while the latter can also be ordered as a so-called Edition 1 model as tested here. It adds a host of extra options for about 200,000 Rand. The most eye-catching differences are the fixed rear wing and the carbon fibre roof. The interior of the AMG GTS links sports car functionality to real luxury and comfort. These bespoke, high-backed sports seats, certainly very comfortable, but also very handsome. A lot of leather, handcrafted stitching, and as you can see, a very dominant center stack with, of course, the command screen right in the center. A tall center console divides the cabin in half and is home to the gear lever, the command system controller, and an array of switchgear. Given the size of the GTS, the cabin feels unexpectedly snug and form-fitting, with a view across that long prowling bonnet initially intimidating. The list of standard equipment is comprehensive and literally ticks all the boxes, plus some that don't even exist in more mundane cars. As expected, this is a cabin that bristles with advanced tech, from the extended array of safety features to the entertainment system. But the most important bits can be found under that extended bonnet. Powering this AMG GTS is a new generation V8 with twin turbos. Those turbos neatly incorporated in the V between the two cylinder banks to create a very compact design. And for the same reason, it also gets a dry sump system. The power output of this version, 375 kilowatts linked to 650 Newton meters. The normal GT does 350 kilowatt and 600 Newton meters. And in both instances, the gearbox is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission driving the rear wheels. The rest of the GT's underpinnings are equally sophisticated. The suspension employs lightweight aluminium dual wishbones front and rear, combined with gas-filled dampers and AMG's ride control. The brakes are composite, with huge perforated discs and calipers up front, while the mixed wheels and tyres combine 19-inch fronts with massive 20 inches at the rear. AMG cars have a reputation for being completely and utterly ferocious, almost intimidatingly so. But this car seems to handle the power with a lot more decorum, and it is very composed, although also very quick. The 0 to 100 time under 4 seconds, top speed limited to 310 kilometers an hour. But to really appreciate what this car is all about, you need to drive it hard and ideally on really fast and flowing roads. So there's no doubt that the AMG GTS is quick, even by supercar standards, but it's more brutal than nimble. The long nose and a curb weight not far off 1,600 kilograms make for a car that's happier in fast sweeps than scuttling through corners. The suspension is taut without loosening any fillings, and the effective damping delivers decent ride quality without compromising handling. Pushing too hard into corners forces understeer, while booting it out of a twisty too quickly threatens oversteer, especially with stability control switched off. It's best to carry as much speed as possible into a corner, braking hard and late, then turning in and getting the wheels nice and straight before feeding in the power. Variable steering delivers ample fuel and feedback. Oh yes, and then there's the sound of the engine, which does full justice to the car's dramatic looks. The Mercedes-AMG GTS is a very real and more accessible successor to the larger and perhaps slightly underwhelming SLS. But it's also a very real alternative to the legendary Porsche 911 and the dramatic but now somewhat dated Audi R8. It doesn't quite have the focus of either of those two cars, and it needs to be pushed very hard to show what it's really capable of, which means you need to head out to the country and find some fast flowing mountain passes, or otherwise exercise it on a racetrack. Having said that, it's also a very capable, very fluid, long-distance GT car, and to be frank, most buyers are probably going to use it in that role. A high-tech V8 that sounds as impressive as its substantial output sets the tone for the rest of a car that can be fast and furious, but also copes with urban traffic and in different surfaces. It's also comprehensively equipped, while the Edition 1 package adds further exclusivity. But you need to give it stick to really appreciate its capabilities, and that cockpit can feel constrained despite the generous exterior dimensions.